Only pet I have. Okay. All right. Matt, would you start us off? Would you put us online? Would you put us on online? Okay, wonderful. Good morning, everybody. I'm calling to order the Connecticut State Advisory Council for Special Education. This meeting is today, Wednesday, September 18th at 9:02? I'm Susan Yankee. I'm the chair and I'm a parent member. And don't forget, everybody, if you use an acronym, and this includes me, please say what it is. Jennifer has a quarter jar. And next time we're in person, if you don't describe your acronym, we have to give her a quarter. I don't know what we'll do with that money. Okay, so the council, purpose and function. Let me go down my thing. Okay. The SAC, which is the Special Education Advisory Council, brings together the Connecticut State Department of Education, which is CSDE, educators and related service providers, administrators, legislators, parents, as well as students and persons with disabilities, all dedicated to supporting the education of students with disabilities. And through these meetings, we create our priorities and recommendations for the CSDE and the Connecticut General Assembly. Any information or our past meetings, you can find more detailed information on the Connecticut State Department of Education website. Great, introductions and roles. I'm gonna go around the screen. I'm gonna ask you to please introduce yourself and your role on the council. And Missy, I'm gonna start with you because you're the first person I saw this morning.
Good morning, everybody. Missy Wrigley. I am a consultant at CERC, and I am on SAC as a parent of a young man who is in 8th grade.
Great, wonderful. Jane? Oh, can't hear you.
Yes, I noticed. Thank you. Jane Hampton from the Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center. We're legislatively on the SAC to represent families that call our center.
Thank you. Catherine?
Good morning. I'm Catherine Sum. I represent the Department of Aging and Disability Services, Bureau of Education and Services for the Blind, and I'm also chair of the membership committee.
Thank you. Dawn?
Hi, I'm Dawn Dickow. I am the recipient of the Paraeducator of the Year 2024 award, and I represent paraeducators.
Thank you. Josh?
Hi, my name is Josh Martin. I am the Director of Pupil Services with East Haddam Public Schools, and I represent CONCASE.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Good morning, Jennifer Lucier, and I represent parents.
Thank you. Nachi?
Good morning, everybody. Nachi Bhatt here for DCF, representing children in foster care.
Thank you so much. Tom?
Good morning, Tom Kosker, advocate with Disability Rights Connecticut, the protection advocacy system here in Connecticut. Also the parent of a 16-year-old boy. Thanks.
Thank you. Jake?
Hello, everyone. Jake Shumbo here. I am a disability representative and traumatic brain injury survivor. And I represent all people of disability, as we all do on this council. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Denise?
Good morning. I'm Denise Drummond. I work with the Connecticut Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity, and I oversee the African American Policy Division, and I'm here as a parent. I'm a parent of an autistic, I was going to say student, but he's a graduate of University of Connecticut, and he's currently teaching at Anna Grace Academy right now.
Denise, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks.
Thank you. Kimberly?
Good morning. I'm Kimberly Williamson, and I represent speech language pathologists.
Thank you. Miss Jolie?
Jolie Medina, State Department of Education. I am your assistant.
Thank you. Allison?
Good morning, everyone. I represent Aging and Disability Services, the Bureau of Rehabilitation Services.
Thank you. Jovi?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joviana Morales, and I'm a parent representative.
Thank you. Jeff?
Go, Jeff.
Yes, I'm Jeffrey Spar. I'm the city attorney for Norwalk, Connecticut, but I'm here as a parent of a young man who's 23 with ADHD and autism, and I'm the chair of the legislative committee and the president of the Jolie Pizza Fan Club.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you, Jeff, for another year.
Thank you. Lori?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lori Fortuna. I am a parent stakeholder and the proud mom of a 15 and 16-year-old on the spectrum.
Thank you, Lori. Representative Comey? Oh, we'll go back to Representative Comey. Matthew? Oh, wait, sorry, Matt. I always call on you. Apologies. Mary Beth.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Bruder from the University of Connecticut, and I represent higher education.
Thank you. Lewis?
Hey, Louis Talarita, Connecticut State Department of Education. I serve in the role of the Connecticut State Coordinator for the McKinney-Vento Act.
Thank you. Anna? Okay, so Anna's on her iPhone, so she might not be able to respond. And Brian? Okay, Brian. Nope. All right. Does anybody see any more on the screen? I'm kind of excited. This is a full house. No?
My apologies, Susan. This is
Okay.
Brian Smith. I was trying to find my unmute button. Brian Smith, Assistant Regional Director representing the stakeholders of the Department of Developmental Services across the state.
Thank you. And then wait, quick, I'm going to check. I see the chat. Let's see. Representative Comey will be here in 15 minutes and Anna is having problems unmuting. Anna, we hope you can unmute because I always appreciate your input. So I'm rooting for you. Okay, wonderful. Next, we have public comment. Is there anybody, Jolie, I assume, oh, I'm sorry. And we have two first I want to say we have two representatives here from CERC, even though you're not on the council. Would you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Killowen, consultant at CERC, and we've been brought on to start supporting the council. So happy to be here.
Excited.
Good morning, Holly Ryan, project specialist at CERC.
Thank you. We're very excited to have you here. Okay. Is there anybody, Jolie, are you in charge of public comment? I had a parent call me like 2 minutes before the meeting started, but I couldn't pick up.
I have no one.
Okay.
Nope.
Jen, could you kind of look through the chat? Because I just saw another chat thing. Are you able to look at that for me?
It just says that Anna is trying to unmute.
Oh, okay. Nachi, I see you. Is that no?
I think we can unmute. Not Missy. Can we unmute her? Anna, from our end.
Wait, can you guys hear me?
I just hit unmute.
Yes, Anna, we've unmuted you, so we have control of you today.
Would you like to introduce yourself, young lady?
Absolutely, Anna Wittig. Of course, I don't have a video now, but I'm not going to try anything else. I represent private special education approved by the state schools.
Thank you so much. Glad you're here. All right, public comment. No one, Jolie?
Nope, still don't have anyone. All set here.
Okay, and anybody that is watching this currently, do know that you can also email, I believe it's Jolie, if you have public comment.
Absolutely.
We also take public comment via email because we want to hear anyone who would like to speak to the council. Okay, great. Next, consent agenda. So Jolie, we're going to table our July 10th meeting minutes because we don't have them.
We didn't. Oh, you are correct.
Yeah, because I looked online and we don't have a video either because I was going to see if I could make some for you, but
nope. We will table them to the October October meeting, and we will just work on the May 22nd minutes today. But but you know, you do your thing. We'll have to make a motion.
Yeah. Would someone make a motion for us to move our July 10th meeting minutes to the October 16th meeting?
I will.
That's Jake. Who would like to second?
I'll second.
Second by Missy.
Oh, Josh won. Josh second.
That's good.
Okay.
Fine with me.
Any abstentions from anyone that wasn't at the meeting? Denise. Okay, great. All right. So all approve?
Aye.
All right. It has been approved. We're moving our July 10th meeting minutes to the October 16th meeting. Wonderful. Next, we have the May 22nd meeting minutes to approve. Hopefully everybody took a quick peek at them they were sent to us. Are there any corrections? I did not see any. Anyone? No? Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the May 22nd meeting minutes? Let's see who's the fastest.
So moved.
So
Brian.
moved. Oh, who was that? Who was that? Brian?
Think Tom snuck in there.
Tom.
moved.
Tom. Okay. All right. Who would like the second?
I'll second it.
well,
Good. This is like playing 7-Up in the classroom. Okay. Anyone abstain who wasn't at the meeting? Denise? Okay. Anyone else? All right. Okay. All approve of the May 22nd meeting minutes. That looks like
Aye.
everybody. One eye. Thank you. One pirate remark from Brian. Awesome. Okay. Everyone get that eye? Okay. Old business next. The executive committee report. Oh, that's me. Okay. So the special education task force update. You should have received in an email the feedback session information. Is Brian here so he can pop that up on the screen, or maybe he'll do that later with the update? No, he's not. Okay. So you should have received an email to Special Education Task Force findings report and feedback session information. Please share this with your stakeholders. I think they're coming up quickly. Did one already happen on what's today's date? On the 16th?
Susan, there was one on Monday, one on Tuesday. There's two
Okay.
tomorrow, the 19th, and one next week on the 23rd and one on the 25th.
Right. And they're all across Connecticut, correct?
Correct.
Great. And we want to hear from parents. We want to hear from administrators, teachers. So we would really appreciate anyone you can share that with, and ask them to please participate. Okay. So at the last task force meeting, we had invited paraeducators to share their unmet needs and challenges. The wonderful Dawn was there. Thank you for attending and sharing your feedback. And what we heard was that paraeducators and special education teachers are not feeling valued, from their pay to not always feeling part of their school's education team. Dawn, did you have any quick reflections on that meeting?
No. I think that that it was all addressed, that what we've been feeling across the schools.
Great. And then hopefully we'll get more paraeducators and special educators. Hopefully will come to the feedback sessions. Okay, executive committee activities. First, we need to correct the calendar. So I went back and watched our May meeting when we planned it, and I've spoken to Jolie and she's ready for this. So all of our in-person meetings, which are October 16th, January 15th, and April 23rd, are 10 to 2. And we did that so people that were traveling or had work in the morning, wanted to check their email, they could do that before they were in person. So those are just our in-person sessions. So we got that.
I got you.
And Jolie, are we confirmed for the LOB?
We are not confirmed for the LOB yet.
We're trying for the LOB on October 16th, but what we discussed at the executive committee meeting was that this is an election year and that we should move our breakfast to after the November elections. And we're hoping Representative Comey, when she's on, that she could let us know the best time to engage legislators, the new legislators. So we'll reach out to Representative Comey for that. Our annual report, we are having a meeting online Wednesday, October 23rd of the executive committee from 9 to 10:30 a.m. And the reason I'm mentioning this is the invitation is open to any member that's interested in being a part of that or interested in a future leadership position to attend, to see how we take what the SAC has talked about and kind of put it in our best job to put it in clear language. So it's a big task, but if you are thinking about you want to be in the executive committee or hold a position later on that puts together this report, I really recommend that you come and see how we put it together. We work really well together, but it definitely is a meeting of the minds and Nachi's great brain with writing down all our notes. So reach out to Jolie if you want to invite. It's Wednesday, October 23rd from 9 to 10:30 a.m. Today, we're okay. Also, we discussed at the meeting, again, we've talked about this before, of setting up like a policies and procedures to guide the bylaws. This is going to make it easier for future members of the SAC to have something to guide them by. For example, like membership. We need clear steps for new members who are applying, such as like, first it gets submitted to the membership committee for review. Then they get approval, and then it goes to the executive committee. We just need that like put down, you know, and on paper. So we're asking each committee at their next meeting to review their section of the bylaws and kind of set up a procedures checklist that is simple and bulleted. So this would be really helpful for, well, me. I did a lot of guessing when I came in and a lot of asking of help, and this will help anybody who's on the SAC of the future of how it works and hopefully streamline things for us.
Susan, where do we access the bylaws? Is that right on?
The bylaws, Jolie, if I am correct, they are on our website. It's under, I think, under documents.
You are correct, and I can send the I can send those out to the I can send the link out to the members.
That would be awesome. Okay, that's it for what I have to say.
Susan,
We have
can I interrupt?
Yeah.
Susan?
Yeah.
So when you were going by with the meetings, the in-person ones, you had indicated October 16th, 10 to 2, which is fine. You also said January 15th. I'm looking at the.
Oh, no, February 26th. If I said January 15th, I apologize.
All right.
February
So, and
26th.
then also April 23rd, right?
April 23rd. All the in-person are 10 to 2.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. Okay.
Great. And then Jolie, once that gets clarified, could you send me or the executive committee, and then we can send it out to the full group and then update it on the website? That's wonderful.
Everyone has received a calendar invite from me, so they're going to see that changed as well.
Great. And everyone note, November 20th is an afternoon meeting, 2 to 3:30 virtual. And then Jolie, are we working? Do you have any thoughts on where we're having the in-person? Because I really want to get them done ahead of time so that people can plan.
The future after our October meetings, you're talking to the in-person ones?
Yeah.
No, but I say we discuss that really quick, like as you said, sooner rather than later at our next executive meeting.
That's not till October 23rd. No, I guess we'll have to have one before the next meeting. You're right. Okay, I'll put that on my list. I have to remember to have another executive meeting. Sorry.
I'm waiting for that email to let me know when we're going to meet again, and I'll get that one, the executive committee going to make sure that's on the agenda.
Sorry about that, executive committee. Okay, great. Jen, anything in the chat? I see there's a number 5. I should open that up.
Oh, Jane just posted the link to the flyer for the session dates. And I posted our bylaws in there as well.
You guys
Jen, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you so much. Next, we have a membership committee report. Catherine?
Okay, thanks, Susan. All right, so those of you who are on the membership committee, Jolie was kind enough to send an email to all of you a little while ago regarding our next meeting, so please just check your email. The membership committee is in the process of reviewing applications. We have 1 vacancy on the council for a parent or an adult with a disability, so we have a number of fantastic candidates to review, and hopefully the committee will be making a decision soon. So stay tuned on that. And we still have 3 vacancies for students. We have 1 student representative, Mia, and so please, please, please encourage students to apply to the SAC because their voice is so important. So those are our vacancies. And otherwise, thank you all for coming. Attendance has been very good. And today, again, you're demonstrating great attendance. And then I can't think of anything else for membership. Anyone from the committee have anything to add?
Aren't we updating, putting things like, aren't we updating information so it makes it easier for people that are
Apply, yeah, yes, when the committee meets, we're also going to be reviewing the membership survey so that we are sure we're capturing all of the information that we would like to have as we're reviewing applications. So thank you, Susan. Okay, and that's it for me.
Wonderful. Mr. Spar.
We don't have anything now for legislative committee, so we're just going to look forward to working with the legislature to oversee the potential legislation. And of course, if anybody in their experience, because we're coming from all different points of view here, if anybody in their experience sees an issue that has arisen in their, work or experience or family life or whatever, please let us know. Please let me know for the legislative committee so we can maybe, direct some kind of attention to that. So that's what we're here for.
Thank you. And in the legislative vein, Representative Comey, we decided to move our legislative breakfast from October to after the elections so that we can engage all the new representatives. And we were going to reach out to you to find out when you thought that would be a good time for us to have it. Okay. I can't hear it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do it until January.
Okay. And do you see anything coming down, anything that we should be paying attention to as well, legislatively?
I have not heard anything because we're now going to, we're going to have a new education chair. Representative Curry has announced that he is going to be leaving and he didn't run for re-election. So, I don't know what's going to happen. So,
okay.
We will see, I guess. I would just say that if you guys want, we had done some emailing back and forth about maybe getting some more legislators involved. And I would be happy to send out, that, a recognition that, if you want to join, we would love to have you type thing to the whole education committee, children's committee, whoever you want. But I wanted you guys to take a look at it. I wanted Brian to take a look at it. I wanted whoever needs to take a look at it before we just, I want it to come from you guys. I don't want it to come from me necessarily.
So Representative Comey is looking to get a blurb and perhaps a flyer, like be able to share the legislative flyer, but she wants an okay from the executive committee and blurb provided, and she will email out to the legislators for us, to her list, her contact list.
Yeah.
Catherine,
the clerk said they would be happy to do that.
Thank you, Representative Comey.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
And I believe we have a flyer already.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yep, we would just need to put together a blurb for her and a new blurb or an updated one. And
the date
I could absolutely work. We can make sure we get that to her ASAP. We can work behind the scenes on a blurb and get that going.
Catherine, is that okay with you?
That sounds fantastic. Thank you, Representative Comey.
Thank you. Thank you, Jolie. Thank you, Representative Comey. Thank you, Catherine.
Got it. I'll work with Catherine.
Wonderful. Thank you for doing it.
Real quick, just to chime in, this is Tom. So we had that list of folks that we had connected with last time we had the breakfast too, and I don't have it right in front of me, but I remember circulating it around, and we had that handful of legislators who had come to our breakfast and expressed interest. So I think it's also especially helpful to maybe circle back with them. And I believe, Catherine, you had done some follow-up outreach to them, if I remember correctly. I don't remember exactly, but
yeah, I think that I sent them a follow-up email, Tom, and I know I have that list somewhere. So
it's just a thought, like, again, because those are folks who came to our thing already once, hey, we still have openings. Are you still interested? If they're still in the legislature, that is, of course. But anyway, thanks.
So Tom, I haven't been letting you guys know, but since I've had that list, I have been notifying them, sending them an email of our meetings. I have not
Awesome.
gotten any, so we would have to connect on that, or, I think Representative Comey's list will probably have, it's gonna have a lot more. We didn't have much people on our list, and I just haven't had many people respond to those emails.
Yeah.
So
It's a tough timing.
Representative
It's a tough
Comey
time of
decided,
year. Yeah.
yeah, she said she decided that she would share it with a broader group.
Right. Cool. Thanks.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Okay, next on the list is our roundtable. This is my favorite part, as you all know. So at the executive committee meeting, we discussed that the roundtable would also be a great place for members to share feedback on other committees that you're on. Like, are you on a transition committee? Are you on restraint and seclusion, suspension and expulsion? That's relevant to our priorities and recommendations. So we can kind of get a feel for what are the hot topics right now that we should possibly, be looking at, or what you're already working on. So if you have something to share today, please raise your virtual or actual hand. Remember, we don't share events at the roundtable, and those are sent instead to Jennifer, and she will send them out to the full SAC. Is there anybody that would like to share on the roundtable? Oh, Catherine.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Just want to share some updates. Good news, we are hiring some new teachers. I know that we've talked about teaching certification in the past, and I just wanted to share that it has been a bit tricky for us to hire someone coming from another state where we have certification reciprocity. This individual was on it right away during the summer, but the hiccup was with her previous employer and getting them to complete the paperwork that they were required to do. Once they finally did it, I'm going to say it probably took 2 months, she couldn't jump to the head of the queue. So the forms are received in the order in which they are received. So that did delay her start by about a month. We would have liked her to start August 22nd. She will be starting tomorrow, which is fantastic, but it's just a little bit of a glitch in the certification process. I'm happy to work with anyone at the Certification Bureau on ways to streamline this, but I just wanted to share, and it's probably a bit unique when it's a state agency that's hiring a teacher as opposed to a school district, but it's just a little thing that I think could be streamlined. And then I did want to share, because I also shared at the Back to School Day last week, which was fabulous. So thanks to the Bureau of Special Education for organizing that. I was part of a presentation with the Bureau and the New England Consortium of Deaf Blindness. And I did have to share with everyone in the room, and I'm going to share with you that while we also did take on 2 additional towns this year. So while we are prioritizing staffing, which I think is so important, that means we have less money to spend on Braille and large print books, CCTVs, Braille note takers, and other special supplies that we have always been able to purchase on behalf of our students. So we have had to put a stop on making purchases right now. And the districts have been really great about it. We're working together to find solutions, but I just wanted to share that with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Lori, were you next, I think? And then Missy?
I think so. Yes. I just wanted to briefly mention, so I've been hearing from parents that, you know, with the budget cuts and things, that there are quite a few schools that don't have unified sports programs. And so what I've been hearing, and myself included, I've gone to surrounding schools asking if my child could participate or children outside of the district could participate, and the answer's been no. So I guess I'm just wondering if there's a way to soften those rules. I don't know what those rules are or what, just because ultimately there are kids. So I can give you an example of the kids. My two kids are 15 and 16, and you know, they're just starting to want to play soccer because they've got the confidence, and for them, they can't go to the local high school to play. I mean, they haven't been playing the whole time. So, you know, luckily we found a Miracle League network that plays for about a month, which is great. However, I've been hearing from a lot of parents that they're just having a hard time finding those types of programs. So, and you know, I know in my district per se, it was due to budget cuts. So just putting it out there to see if there's something that maybe could be done about it.
Lori, it's my understanding that Special Olympics funds quite a bit of the unified sports. Have they cut back?
Really? Oh, I can check. I did not realize that. I can check. I just basically the person, you know, that I talked to just said, you know, with budget cuts, we don't, you know, I mean, I don't know if that's the case. Why wouldn't every district have that? I don't know.
I can
Why wouldn't every district?
That's not totally the case. So we can talk offline about it in detail, Lori, if you want.
Okay,
but I mean,
sure.
it's set up through Special Olympics,
Okay.
Connecticut, and Unified Sports, but the local districts tend to fund that on their own, and there's not a lot of money associated with it. So we could talk about that. I mean, we have it in my hometown, and many districts have it, and a lot of times it's also run through like the CIAC. Somehow they're connected with CIAC. So like as far as which district you can play in, it's like, oh, you're in a different group. And so you like, that's where sometimes the weird ruleness comes into play, but be happy to chat offline.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom, for that information. Missy?
Good morning. So just a couple of points. District-wise, so I live in Canterbury, and so good news in that we have somebody who has been identified as a transition coordinator, as well as another middle school teacher who is going to be joining our transition task force. So I'm very excited that hopefully we'll have more conversation about transition over here in our little northeast corner, because that's an important piece. And then speaking to transition, we are working with all the new legislation around transition. We are working very hard to get standards identified for our transition programs. So I'm very excited about that process going forward.
Thank you, Missy. Mr. Spar.
Yes, I just wanted to announce that we will be having, Connecticut was the first in the nation to have an ADHD Awareness Day, or month, excuse me. For the month of October is ADHD Awareness Month. The theme for this year is Awareness is Key. We are going to be having a proclamation by the governor, and we will have an event in Norwalk, in the Norwalk Public Library. We will have a whole bunch of ADHD books available, et cetera. It'll be covered by the press, but it's exciting because Connecticut was in the first in the nation to do so.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for your continued work on that. Is there anything in the chat? Anyone else want to speak? No? Okay. All right. Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. Oh, okay. Priorities and recommendations. Oh, no, Brian, I don't want to skip past you. The BSE update, Bureau of Special Education.
Thanks, Susan. Good morning, everybody. I apologize for missing the start of the meeting. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. That coming through okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So you're seeing my slide, correct?
Yep.
Awesome. Very good. All right, so Catherine mentioned the back to school. Just briefly, I wanted to mention, just thank all those involved, thank the entire team at the State Department of Education under Jay Brown's leadership of organizing the session. And we've had presenters from across many departments and many of our partner agencies, including Catherine and CPAC. And it just was a wonderful day. We had a great turnout. There were amazing presentations that were in the plenary session from our Youth Advisory Council, as well as Beans and Company. So I'll talk a little bit more about that, but I wanted to share this website with you all. If you didn't have an opportunity to make it for the session on the 6th, all of the breakout session materials are here, so you can access any of the PowerPoint presentations for the wonderful breakout sessions. We also, under the resources tab here, have some one-pagers that have been updated. And so you can access those. They're listed as their PDF downloadable materials on a variety of topics that our Bureau is engaged in. Not comprehensive necessarily, but there are many resources that would be important to you and just informative. So just wanted to make you aware. This link stays live throughout the year, but materials shift over to the State Department of Education website eventually as we archive this information. Believe it or not, we're already looking to plan next year's session, and we're looking at a possible new location or different location. So if you have any ideas or suggestions for a venue that can hold nearly 600 but be centralized, for folks that are traveling across various parts of the state, let us know. Just a couple of slides that I wanted to mention during the back to school. We have, as you are aware, a partnership with New Solutions K-12. That's a group that Nate Levinson runs. And what they've done over the last year is hold focus groups and collect data and feedback around the implementation of CTSEDS. And so this is a neutral entity coming in. They were studying why, what were the factors that contributed to districts that had a fairly successful rollout versus districts that struggled during the rollout, what systems they had in place, and the different roles that folks played within the district across medium, small, and our large urban districts. So that was very helpful. And the focus groups also pointed out challenges that the top challenges, if you will, that the are experiencing. And so they've collected that information. There is a final report that's going to be disseminated, but more importantly, K-12 Solutions now this year are putting together some materials and supports for parents and educators on those factors that have made folks successful, onboarding new folks to the system. And then they're also completing or conducting short videos, very small segments that are responsive to the information that they sent. So once that is finalized, I'm going to be sharing that with you all, just as far as you can disseminate that to your groups that you represent, or if you have any questions or would like Nate's team to come to a future meeting, please let me know. This is an overall timeline of the work ahead leading up into the fall this year and some of the new modules that are coming into place. I just wanted to mention for our purposes today that the IEP goals related to math, ELA, reading, writing, as well as our early development learning standards, our pre-K goals, are aligned with the Connecticut core standards. So that standard alignment feature is now live in the system as of July 1st. Actually, it was a little bit later in July. It was I think the second week in July. And that is optional for districts as they support the use in the system through January. So it's available in the system. Districts are familiarizing themselves with it. There's training that's available and support. Even though IEP alignment with standards is not a new concept, it is a new concept in the context of being in the IEP and in the IEP system. And so once January 1st hits, In the system, we are going to ask districts to utilize those standards for all annual reviews between January and the end of the school year. And then for the start of the year next year in 2025, anytime a goal related to math or reading, ELA, or our pre-K folks will be required to have a standard aligned Common Core standard to that. So this slide is, we've created a website. We've worked with AIR on supporting districts in this transition for aligning goals. We're excited about the collaboration between general ed and special education within the context of the goals. One important note is that it's aligning to the anchor standards. So that's a little bit more of the anchor is a more broad scope within the context of the core standards. But we have some really nice, high quality videos and asynchronous supports for districts, as well as potential for coaching and us pushing in with the support and the rest. So I'll pause there to see if there's any questions. And then, let me just share one more slide. So within the context, and then we'll kind of shift to different topics, but within the context of that general ed and special education collaboration, we're very excited. We've been partnering with CAS, which is the Connecticut Association of Schools, that oversees and supports our school principals across the state. That's been a really critical partnership for us, as we know that the principals have such a huge role in the supporting and in the achievement of our students. And we've developed IEP quality training specifically for general education administrators. And then moving on to 25-26, we're going to be shifting that focus to general education teachers. So it's very exciting to see that this initiative is not just special education; it crosses borders during the those traditional silos in education, in special education. And during our back to school session, colleagues from the academic office shared resources about our state curricula, as well as our Go Live academic hub, where all of those resources are available to ensure students have access to high quality curricula and instructional materials. So we're really thrilled and excited about the next to come in the support around high quality development. Questions or comments on that? Very good. I'll continue to move along.
Wait, Brian, I had a quick one just to help me out. With the general education IEP training, do they already get training if there's a behavior intervention plan in that IEP? Do the general education teachers get?
So for students that have a behavior intervention plan, the expectation is that the districts would share that with all appropriate members in the school.
And I understand, Brian, that this training is to teach general education teachers about building and developing high quality IEPs versus understanding what they currently say.
That's exactly right, Josh. Yeah. And a little bit about the special, it's kind of like a special education 101 with a focus on goals and objectives and their role in contributing towards high quality goals and objectives. All right. Well, we had an amazing, for those that were able to make it, we missed the folks that weren't able, but there were several folks virtually as well. We had our retreat back in July in Old Saybrook, and it was a wonderful venue. There was amazing discussions. We're going to jump into that a little bit as we talk about our priorities in a few minutes. But one of the themes that came up in that discussion, and after folks did their kind of what one item would you bring to a deserted island activity, which was very fun, the sense and the theme of belonging. So we were talking about least restrictive environment, inclusion, and kept coming back to the feeling of belonging and the need to kind of emphasize that when students feel like they belong to a community, their achievement increases, improves, their engagement increases, and ultimately they're able to feel welcome in that environment. Similarly, for our educators, our special education teachers, our administrators, that sense of belonging in the work that they're doing and that they're not working alone and always, underappreciated or for the work that they do. And so similarly for our parents and families and feeling like the needs of their children or young adults, the need to belong to that community and be welcome and accepted for the strengths and abilities that they do have. So that theme was also our back to school theme, but I did want to mention that it came up pretty thoroughly across all of your priority areas as that sense of belonging. So I'm hoping over this year, we can continue to build upon that and to infuse that in the work that you all do. I did mention the Youth Advisory Board at the back to school session, so some folks will look familiar here to you all, but we had the opportunity and the pleasure to hear from Ryan as well as Lily, who shared a poem about belonging. And if you weren't able to hear it on the 6th, maybe we can get permission to share that poem with you all. It was amazing. And Ryan did a wonderful job as well, talking about what it means to them for the sense of belonging and the support that they receive from the school districts to in the productive activities that they're engaged in now and supporting other youth and mentors and leaders in and of themselves. So that was a wonderful moment. And then we also had Kim from Beans and Company talk about their inclusive work environment in Avon, Connecticut. And so we had Nick and Megan, who are employees within Beans, talk about their appreciation of the journey that they've had and advice for the school districts moving forward. They were really demonstrated their leadership and their ability to support students who are going through similar paths now in school, and the importance in seeing that line of success is possible. So just a few data slides, and then we can, Susan, I'm happy to turn it back over and we can talk more about priorities and where we stand with that. But our special education rates, so this is a slide that we use every year to demonstrate the increase of special education percentages in the state. These are K through 12 prevalent states. So this is what we report to the federal government. It does not include pre-K students. We have a separate calculation for that. So there's different rates, but our K-12 prevalence rates are now above 17% for the first time ever. And you can see the steady incline. So you can, this slide is also interesting because you can also see since 2007-8, when we had nearly 560,000 general education students, that's steadily declined. And now we're at 492 plus K-12 students. So if you actually take the prevalence rates of special education, if our general ed counts were similar to what they were in the past, our rates would be around 15% rather than 17.3. However, that is not the reality. That's not the point that we're trying to make, but there is a factor in when you're in and your denominator is decreasing. That does explain why the increase is happening to some extent, but we also know that the prevalence rates, even if the counts remain similar or the same, are still increasing across disability categories. So these data show that. You can see the sharp decline in all student, the incline in special education. And I think it's really important to point out that, we've had year over year, over 3% increases now 4 times in the last 10 years. So, the answer to that question is complicated. Why is that happening? Are our evaluation processes, improving? Are we identifying more kids at an early level? So we have seen increases at the elementary age for our prevalence rates. This is going to be impossible to see, but you can see we have every, breakdown by grade. Interestingly, there are some grades that have actually seen a decrease, but if you look at change over the last 10 years, all across the board, there have been significant increases, with the highest percentage of increases around our early childhood, elementary age, and then also interestingly in 12th grade at the end of a student's educational journey. Just 2 more data slides. So we have just a few notes on least restrictive environment. Our 5A, so that's indicator 5 in our state performance plan, is environments in which students with disabilities are educated alongside their non-disabled peers 80% or more of the day. And you can see our students with ID continue to have the most challenges at the local level of being included 80% or more of the day. So this means only 20% of students with intellectual disability are included with their non-disabled peers 80% or more of the day. This is speech and language impairment. SLI is speech and language. So those students are most so that means only just under 14% of students with speech and language have less than 80% of the time with their peers. And then we also have students with learning disabilities or other health impairments included above the state targets. So our total target for the state across all disability categories is at 65.96. And this reflects a decrease over the 3 years. This priority for the council and was also discussed during your July retreat. So I think it's definitely worth looking into and understanding the data and supporting at the local level inclusive practices. And then interestingly, looking at the flip side, 5C in our state performance plan are students who are educated in a separate setting. And so the good news here, if you consider it good news or interesting news, is that students who are placed in separate settings has also decreased over the last 3 years. So in 21-22, 6.71% of our students were placed in out-of-district placements. And then the most recent data are showing 5.81% of students. So that's nearly a percentage decrease over that time. And this chart up here shows a breakdown of the disability categories as far as the percentage of students with those specific categories that are most often placed in outside of the school district or in a separate program or placement.
Brian, we have a couple of questions. Some people have their hands up. Jane.
On the slide, Brian, that had the LRE, you had talked about students with intellectual disability being 20% of time with non-disabled peers, the one right before that.
Yeah.
Do you have that breakdown by age level, grade level? Because I would be really interested to see if it decreases over time. If you're looking at it as a group, but if you looked at elementary versus middle versus high, would there be a difference in the percentages?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jane. We don't have that as our publicly disseminated data or data that we report federally, but that is something that we could look into and try to get back to the council that information if that would be helpful.
Thank you.
So disability category by grade to see if students, I guess there's just a clarification. So if you're tracking an individual student over time, is your point, Jane, that in the elementary grades, that student may be included more as they move to the middle school and then the high school, even less time with non-disabled peers? an individual student or collectively the students with intellectual disability?
I was thinking collectively, it's an interesting question and the longitudinal on an individual student, but I was looking at collectively to see if there's more success at a certain level than another level.
Thank you. Got it.
So Brian, just a quick question about the separate setting.
Yes.
Because you said outside placement. So is that, are those numbers reflective of outside placement into another, school, as well as if it's a pull-out English class or a pull-out math class within the high school?
No.
Okay, so this is just an outside
Correct.
placement. Okay.
Yes. Out of district, separate setting, so not including programming in the neighborhood schools.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. There is a category though, so the zero, we included that category. Missy, potentially those students that you described could be included 0 to 40% of the day with non-typical peers, but it's not a separate setting.
Okay.
See, so in the pink, so students with emotional disability are most likely to be placed in a separate setting. 24.74% of students with emotional disability across the state are placed in a separate setting.
Okay.
Ryan, the data that's reflected on page 34 is also those same students are included in the data set on page 33, correct?
Same students, yeah, the same child count from the districts.
So students who are in separate settings, they would probably be reflected more on the 0.00% side of with disabilities.
Yeah, it's almost counterintuitive to think, well, how could our 5A go down and 5C go up? Where are the students moving? And so we only report federal, we don't report that category in the middle federally. So you have the, you have 0 to 40 separate setting, you have the 80% and above, but then there's that 40 to 80 range as well. And so one would think if a student's moving in from a separate setting and the school district has developed a program, they may still be in that category of 0 to 40. And so, that's one of our justifications when we submit our data to OSIP. And it's part of what we discussed here is we want to try to avoid kind of shifting chairs and making sure students have access to high quality instruction, that they're benefiting from their environment, and they're not just moving into a classroom for the sake of data collection. And so we're always concerned about that. But if your 5B are going up, it's because your 5C are going down. The students are moving. So it's the same subset of students. So you couldn't decrease all three across 1 year because the students have to be reflected somewhere.
Sure.
Other comments? The prevalence rates are definitely something to note in our state. So it's, if you think about 17% of the population requiring special education services, and then also one of your priorities also with staffing and services and the resources that the districts have, it is something that I know was discussed during the July retreat. And that's a perfect segue, Susan, back to the priorities. So I have a slide here.
Wait a second, we have Tom. Tom has his hand up.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess real quick. I think those numbers are the same nationally, right? I mean, those rates being up to 17% in Connecticut, I think that's reflected kind of nationally as well. I know it varies within the state, of course, but I think we're sort of close mirroring this gradual increase across the country as well, right?
Yeah, Connecticut's not an anomaly. I mean, it is, you know, it's happening. There are states that have lower percentages. There are states that have higher, but
Right.
they've
We're in the
seen
same
increase.
pattern.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other comment, of course, is with the LRE numbers and the 0 to 40 and whatnot. Of course, it's nice to see the number of out of district placements, you know, coming down. It's something that we're obviously wanting to continue to decrease, because we're if not the highest, among the highest in the country as far as, you know, out of district placements. So and again, some of this, the granular data on, you know, emotional disability and stuff are disturbing, I say, would be a word I would use to describe some of those rates, you know, that a quarter of students are out. So I think it's definitely something that we can continue. And I know we've worked on it over the years on the SAC. And I think it's something that definitely warrants our continued focus.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. All great points. And I think what might be helpful too is, and what we remind folks when they ask us questions about this and the supports for school districts, like what is it that the school districts need? We've talked about incentives for building programs in district, which I think would be very welcome. There's space and capital as far as making sure the students have a safe environment. And then there's also staffing of those programs. So we've heard from some districts that they're very willing and able to program, but they don't have the expertise or the staffing needed, for example, BCBAs or registered behavior technicians. And so there is the need not only for the space and the expertise, but also the training to be able to support those students. And then the other point that is often made too is that a substantial percentage of our placements are parent-driven, meaning that they're a result of either a settlement agreement or parent request for out-of-district placement. So oftentimes school districts are very willing to program or support, but you know, the parent may not be either have concerns about the programming implementation or feel as though their student may be more successful in a different setting. So it's, when we think about LRE, we have to also think about, you know, the parent perspective in the placement and location, as well as the school district resources and supports that they have. And it goes back to that sense of belonging. It's really, that's why I think Nachi, I believe it was the group that you were working in, and then also the other groups in the discussion after that, is that the priority areas seem to need, or all kind of focus around two things: student voice and that sense of belonging. So those are listed here as not necessarily a priority area, but infused throughout each of the activities. And these are the high level themes that came about during and then I'll stop talking and turn it back over so we can be more interactive. But just to summarize, least restrictive environment and individualized programming was a consensus to continue that work as a priority. The consensus was also around strategies for recruitment and retention of special education staffing. And then the third area was around the PPT process and partnerships. And so you can see how these two concepts infuse all of the work. So if you recall, during that session in July at Old Saybrook, we didn't quite have an opportunity to get through the entire worksheet, the last couple of areas. But I do have notes, Susan, from what was shared on the notepads that we were marking on the wall.
Just quick, sorry to interrupt, Brian. Did you see Lena had her hand up for a while?
Oh, great. No, I can't see.
So sorry about that. You can't see?
No, please. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Hi, Brian. Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
Brian, do we have any data about by ages, the children and different school settings, like school, middle school, high school, and auto placement?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, seclusion and restraint, I know was part of the, under the priorities for 2023 for you all around behavioral supports and then emergency restraint and seclusion. You wouldn't see that on here because this is the point where we left off at the session. So Susan, I don't know if either you or anyone from the executive committee would like to discuss a little bit about the retreat and the status of the priorities. But I'm going to stop sharing just for a minute because I also have notes that we can disseminate from the Post-it, the giant Post-its that you all used.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. In addition, we have the ad hoc committee for safety, and I want to make sure that that is in our new priorities. We discussed it at the last executive committee, especially with the uptick of threats in the Connecticut schools and making sure that the students actually with IEPs have a plan for safety in schools for them during emergencies. I just want to make sure that's on there. I know we discussed a lot about belonging at the meeting, Brian, which our retreat. And we just had brought up that funding was cut by Lori for unified sports. And actually at the special education conference that you just had, almost every student that spoke talked about unified sports and how it was such a huge part of belonging for them. So I want to know where that would fall into our priorities for next year. That's just me, but I don't know. But our meeting, I really need to see the sheets and what we kind of talked about. And Jen has her hand.
I'm sorry. I have a question going back since we're asking for a bunch of data. I don't know how you phrased it, that a significant amount of outplacements are requested by parents. And I've heard that said, from different groups like Concase, and I'm wondering what is the actual prevalence data that shows that it's a significant amount, that are going through settlement agreements versus the PPT making a decision to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Just so we can have an idea of what what it actually is versus anecdotal comment.
I think it's helpful. So Jen, we do have a mechanism to collect the number of settlement agreements in the state. So that's data that we can easily share. A settlement agreement versus a planning and placement team placement. What we do not have a clean way of looking at is in the PPT, is it the parent that is driving the placement? And I don't mean that in a negative sense, or the district recommending the placement, where the teams, ultimately it is a PPT decision. But so the team ultimately comes to an agreement, but is it the parent initiating or the district initiating? The only way now we have that ability is if the districts are self-reporting that.
Or
So
the parent input part of the IEP. Typically parents would.
Yeah, so that would take some type of manual review of it, or if we had an AI, mechanism to be able to look for that information within the system. We're not using AI in the system, but there's some exciting potential for those types of review versus like a person going in and trying to disseminate that information. But yeah, that's the point. I don't think I used the word significant, but if I did, I just meant that there is a portion of, so whatever that.
It's come up at a lot of different tables I've been at throughout the state. That's why I'm wondering again, what is the actual kind of percentage, or is it this perception? Because I heard it at the panel at the Special Ed Task Force. Is it perception that it's parents and advocates and attorneys that are causing the outplacement rates to go up so much in Connecticut?
Yeah, we have data on any type of unilateral placement. So if the parent is placing the student unilaterally outside of the PPT process, we have those numbers. It's just a little more complicated if it's happening within the PPT process to try to tease that out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess, Brian, could you put up you have the notes from the
course.
papers?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Happy to.
And I think I think we decided that student voice is one of our priorities, but it's interwoven in every single one of our priorities. We kind of.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that you mentioned those two things, student voice and belonging.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a preference of your all, like, what would you rather have it listed as one of the priorities or just infused under and underneath, you know what I mean? And throughout. I think it's just a different way to articulate it, really. But I'll share my screen now and then you can all discuss and then I can pose some questions. We have just about 20 minutes left, so that's good.
Missy has her hands raised.
Oh, thank you, Jen. Go ahead, Missy.
Just from experience with our core transition skills and we, we figured we had these, all of these skills and self-advocacy and and student voice would be weaved into each of those. And it really didn't happen that way. So that's why we made an individual core skill around the development of self-determination skills and self-advocacy skills and stuff of that nature, so that we could make sure that there is a specific focus. So if, I think student voice is so important. And, if the weaving throughout each is really prominent in there, then that might be okay. But if not, then we have to make sure that it has a standalone piece also.
Yeah, thank you, Missy. And I think when we say in there, and Susan, you mentioned a couple of times, make sure it's in there. So the ad hoc committees that you have around safety, those don't have to be a priority. That's a group. The chair has the authority to develop ad hoc committees on any topic. And so it's a question for you. If you want that ad hoc group topic to be a priority, those are two separate things. So I just wanted to mention, so you have your subcommittees and then you have ad hoc committees that are doing the work on a specific topic. And also note, you can bring in folks, and like you did last year, you can bring in expertise to present. You can bring in the public in any type of way. And so that is in place, and you are wishing to continue that for next year. The priorities end up in your annual report. So Missy, to your point, if you design the annual report for each of these priorities to have a subsection of how student voice and belonging connects, that's an option. Or you can list them all out separately and list kind of the activities and recommendations. So I think it's just important to know that it ends up the in there is the annual report. And then whatever materials that you develop to say hand to legislature or hand to the State Department of Education or hand to the public to say, these are the important things that the State Advisory Council. And we can support you like we did last year in developing those one-pagers, infographics, whatever you need from us to kind of make sure that Tom always does a nice job of describing this, of instead of the 25-page report, there's a 1-page, clear delineation of where your priorities are. That folks, it's a digestible version of it. So,
sorry, Josh has his hand up. I know you can't see.
Go ahead, Josh.
Josh?
Yeah, I had my hand up and then I was muted and then I lost my mouse. Couldn't find where it was. So thank you. So we it seemed at the last year, I heard it a little bit in some comments today. There was so the ARPA funding is kind of run out, and we've seen a lot of districts having huge budget cuts, or some districts, and many districts with budget cuts, some with very huge budget cuts. We talked about districts cutting programs like Unified Sports, and looking at some of those priorities around staffing and individualizing in LRE. Is there a place? I mean, 3 is funding, but is there a way to talk about focusing on how do other states fund special education? Are we kind of doing it like what other places are, or are there different mechanisms that other states use that are maybe more successful? So I guess, and I apologize, I was not at the meeting in over the summer. I had ended up with COVID that week, and was really out of it. So
no.
I wish I was able to attend, but
Yeah, no need. Yeah, that's yeah, I mean, that's a good question opposed to the group around funding. So every state funds special education differently. That's what I would say. There are no two states that are the same. And I think they're all struggling with the same issue of, federally, not fully funded federally at the state level. And then there's different formulas at the local level. The Special Education Task Force, I don't know, Susan, if you had a chance to share any information around some of the preliminary findings of the Special Education Task Force, but they've identified excess cost reimbursement, as well as the ECS funding for schools, which are weighted for factors like poverty rates and EL or ML status of families and students in the towns. And special education is not one of those factors for the ECS funding. Now, that's very oversimplifying those complex formulas for special education funding. But anyway, so Josh, I think your question's a good one, is that all of these initiatives really relate back to resources and the ability to fund either at the local, state, or federal. And so is it worth mentioning to the legislature the need to, to fund? There's a finite number of dollars, but is that something that you wanted to highlight? So, Susan, so just back to here, I won't take the time to read all of this and we'll make sure to share it out, but this was the theme around partnerships in the PPT process. There was discussions around facilitation and some of the components about decorum standards and partnerships and best practices in making sure that teams are functioning in a positive and proactive way on behalf of the student, and that the student is part of that process. Staffing is not new. You've been working on it, and you have some well thought out recommendations already. LRE and individualization has been a common theme. We talked about the different categories of data and some of the additional data that you've requested. One of the things that arose during the session was the procedure around exiting students with special education, in that, the concept of once a student's identified, they're on an IEP until graduation or exiting. How many of our students are actually meeting success because of the specialized instruction that they receive and then being exited from special education? And so that's a concept that came up. And then, of course, student voice, which you've done an amazing job as a council on in highlighting and emphasizing. So these are the bullets and the areas that were captured. It doesn't do justice for the conversations and the discussions that I've had, but at least it gives a high level overview. So I would say, from the executive committee, or the question to the group is, and I'll put back up the slide around the priorities. So is there consensus around these 3 and or 5? And then I think the question posed on the table is around funding. Susan, you also brought up safety. And I know that restraint and seclusion is also a topic that you've discussed. So in the previous year, you had student mental health and behavioral needs as a priority. And so just open that up for a brief discussion now. But then, as we turn the calendar to October, we'll try to finalize those priority areas so that you all can get to work on the recommendations portion.
I have a quick question. Our next meeting, when we get to really dig into this, is our October meeting. Is LOB the best place, or should we be somewhere that we could be in a conference room and working at tables together? I don't know I would love to know members' thoughts.
I think someplace that's like a workroom area probably would be really good.
I would agree.
Okay, thank you. So Jolie, did you get that?
Sorry, I did not.
We're preferring to find a space that for the October meeting, not the LOB, maybe move the LOB to another date, but somewhere that we can work together where there's tables, like a workroom. Because this is where
Absolutely.
we're going to really dig into our priorities and recommendations.
How does checking with Craig sound to you guys? You've met at Craig before.
Isn't that pretty far? It's Waterbury, right? For some
No,
people?
that's Cirque. Craig is on Charter Oak Ave in Hartford, 111 Charter Oak Ave. So
Oh,
it's still
behind the church?
Hartford. Yeah, it's still Hartford, like the LOB would have been.
Okay. All right. Check for availability.
You're probably thinking of Cirque, Susan, where we had a meeting a while back too, which they
Yeah.
they have nice space as well, but they're located in Waterbury.
Right, and I'm thinking of Missy's Baked Goods because I believe she brought them.
Missy's always bringing the
Missy
baked
brought
goods.
baked goods to that.
We had
Okay.
baked goods from Missy.
I'll bring baked goods wherever we are. It's okay.
That's right.
People had more of Missy's baked goods than the actual catering at Old Saybrook, so that was a testament to her skills.
Yeah.
I think they're talking about me, Missy.
So Brian, I think that we should send this document out to the full stack and then sooner, not wait until right before our meeting, but send it out sooner so people can look at it, make notes. And
Yeah, we also had this doc too, Susan, which is
it's just blue. It's in your thing. You have to put it in front of your body.
That was impressive. I've never seen. Oh,
that's blue.
We have the electronic version that we'll send, but this was where we kind of color coded the different priority areas into training, new initiatives, revising current initiatives, or communication and or information dissemination. So if you thought that was helpful, I can send that out again. It's not to say we have to use the same process, but kind of grouped your feedback into those themes and they kind of keep up coming up recurrently. Can't speak this morning. So yeah, so in those different buckets, I think if we can put those in and then we should be, I would think for a full session, if we have a nice workspace, you should be off and running for that December timeframe for the annual report. Sounds like a great plan.
We hope so. Wrapping
Good
presents right in the annual report.
Yeah.
So also Tom asked if Jolie would also send the slides from today.
Absolutely.
And I would really ask if I know the special education task force document is very long, but you kind of skip down in each section where they kind of say these are the findings. And because I think we're going to have, as a SAC, have to be able to respond to some things. And because these will be put into eventually into possible legislation, special education legislation. So I know it's a long time of your day, but maybe, if your Netflix aren't working, it's a very long document. So please take a peek at it. Also, don't forget
the PowerPoint too, if you haven't seen it, where it just high level summarizes the findings, because in the report there isn't a finding section, so it's hard. It's like embedded throughout the document. Even though, like you said, if you go to the bottom, you can. But there's kind of hard to find if that's just what you're looking for.
Yeah.
The Rusk Alliance has created a slide deck that summarizes the findings. And so we'll send that out along with the report, just so you have the, the summative version of that. And I agree with you 1,000%. I think for Jeff Spar, if he continues to lead the legislative group, should be in tune with that report and the recommendations, because like you said, it could potentially turn into proposals at the legislative level that will want to be, we, meaning the State Advisory Council, not CSDE, will want to be prepared to respond to.
Right. And Jeff, I'm assuming by November, the task force will have kind of solidified some of I'm assuming their recommendations by the time they do this. Brian, what do you think? Jen, what do you think by the time they're done with the September meetings and they have time to collate it in October? Maybe we should have a legislative meeting, just planned on the calendar if we need it in November, if possible.
I think the final report with the recommendations is due on January 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So will there be a sense of what the recommendations are from the task force before that? Probably, but I'm not sure if they won't be final, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I think we'll probably write, but kind of play it by ear. I think it's always good to proactively get something on the calendar and then just cancel if we don't need it.
Yeah, I think that's true, to get it on the calendar, but also
Yeah.
even if the ideas coming from the task force are just preliminary in nature and not final, it'd be good for us to get that, just so we get the ball rolling, just to see where it's going and then get a feel for it.
Yeah.
Right. And the October 23rd executive committee meeting where we're going to work on the annual report, kind of based on that big meeting we have on the 16th. Remember, anyone is welcome, even then they can just jump in, jump out. I also noticed executive committee, I do have on my calendar Wednesday, October 2nd, we have a meeting from 9 to 10 a.m. Does anybody else have that on their calendar? I want to, before I lose everybody.
I don't have that.
You don't?
No, but I have it now. What time do you have?
I have to okay it with the executive committee. All right, I'll do that offline. I'll send an
Could you
email.
give me the date again?
October 2nd, 9 to 10 a.m.
All right, I have it tentative on our end so that you just confirm and let me know.
Okay, I'll send out an email. Sorry, I just wanted to say I just noticed, I thought we had scheduled one.
No. it's good.
So Brian, it seems like with all that information, then we should be coming into the October 16th meeting pretty strong and dedicate the majority of it to our planning meeting.
Yeah.
Before we go, Tom has his hand up.
Oh, Tom, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Just real quick, I'm going to try to make the correct feedback session for the task force report next week. I do encourage everyone to read it. I've read it through and kind of created my own comments. So it's worth the read. It's definitely worth the read and give some feedback on. Are they going to accept feedback in writing as well? I didn't really, maybe I didn't see it on the flyer, but is there a way to provide feedback if those folks can't make those things, Susan?
Yes.
Okay, Brian said, okay. Okay, and who would that go to? That would go to the chair of the Special Education Task Force, or?
I would suggest 3 chairs, or the RESC facilitators are collecting that information. So
Gotcha.
if somebody shows up and they think of something after, or they have a Word doc to submit, we already received a written summary from the first session or the session yesterday at Advance, and they forwarded it to the RESC facilitator, and then they forwarded it to the chairs. So the chair is the direct route, but also the RESCs are collecting all the information first.
Perfect.
So can't go wrong.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have not gotten that yet, so I assume that'll go out soon to the whole task force.
Yeah, the whole task force will receive it probably in October. Once all of the sessions are done, all that information is collapsed and in a digestible format. We're taking from stickies and Post-its to electronic to themes to the task force. So they're doing a wonderful job, and CPAC is also supporting the facilitation. So I know the Special Ed Task Force appreciates the RESC Alliance and the CPAC support of these sessions.
Wonderful, thank you. So our action items, sorry, Jolie, they're all on your plate. Today's slides, and please correct me if I forget something, everybody. The outline of the document from the Special Education Task Force, correct? The outline from our meeting of priorities and recommendations, and my brain stopped. What else? Oh, and the corrected schedule. Anyone else think of anything?
And the data things that we.
And the data.
Yeah, I'll see some of these data requests maybe. So the 2 data requests I have are breakdown of LRE by disability category across grade levels, and then the breakdown or differentiation of placement by PPT versus unilateral placement. And then, like I said, we can't really pull now within the PPT process. And then I think Lena also mentioned seclusion rates by grade based on facility. So those are the three that I have. Make sure we circle back on, and let me know if I missed any.
Nope, I think that's good. I think unless anyone has anything to add, we're going to end this meeting. Okay, would someone like to? What?
I said, great job as always. It's great to see you.
You are.
Hey, so moved. I'm going to put it in before anybody else gets there.
Okay, great. Missed one.
This is on the minutes.
10:31. We're adjourning the meeting. All right.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, Brian Smith has his hand up. Brian, are you waving to us?
No, that was a clap in
Oh,
response to
okay.
Brian's statement. Good job by everybody.
Okay.
Doesn't look like a clap, but it was based on Zoom guidelines.
Thank you. Take care.
Gina, are you
everybody.
able to stay on just for a quick question?
Take care.